What's up, everybody? Welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley. You find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that's the one, the only. He is back. It is Scott Savage. Scott on Twitter at ToeSavage. Scott, what's going on, man? Welcome back.
I missed the show yesterday. I really did.
Dude, you missed a hot show yesterday.
I had a whole lot of technical issue on my end. Spent the day looking off into the sunset.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. We did have Brad from Northern Nerdcast pitch in and cover you for the day. He will return again, I'm sure, at some point. But until then, we appreciated him showing up yesterday and helping support us as he always does. Now, you can always support us too live over on twitch.tv/theofficialITG, as well as YouTube, newly named ITG Reviews. And if you can't join us live, hit us up later inside the game.ca, podcast services and TV streaming networks around the globe. Scott, we got a hot show, but before we get there, don't forget April 2nd is our main mission charity stream for Covenant House out of Toronto. Swing by, support a great cause. We'll be live, and you can support right now by going to mainmission.ca. Today, we have our review of Gran Turismo 7. It is live. You can check it out over on ITG Reviews on YouTube, as well as InsideTheGame.ca. And lastly, Scott, before we start the show, we're giving away 2 copies of Elden Ring for PlayStation. All you have to do is follow us over at the official ITG on Twitter, hashtag Elden Ring, and tag a friend. Pretty simple. By the end of the weekend, we will announce 2 lucky winners.
Now, those are codes. Am I correct on that one?
Yes, these are PlayStation codes. We actually got 3, but one's going to Covenant House where you can win that one over there. So, a little inside baseball for you. But coming up on today's show, Scott, Phil Spencer wins the Lifetime Achievement Award at the DICE Awards and has a message for gamers. Steam Deck production will go full steam ahead. So I had to, with hundreds of thousands of productions in production, and the console market just keeps getting bigger. Scott, are you ready to go, man?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Let's do this. Xbox CEO Phil Spencer reveals his message for gamers after winning the Lifetime Achievement Award. Spencer asks gamers to respect creators, calls out toxicity and acceptance speech. This comes from Kat Bailey over at IGN. Xbox CEO Phil Spencer received the Lifetime Achievement Award at DICE 2022 last week, putting an exclamation mark on a nearly 35-year career that has seen him rise from intern to one of the most powerful leaders in the games industry. Speaking with IGN after his acceptance speech, he had this to say, quote, "Keep playing, keep using your voice, understand the power of creativity, the power of community." And the other thing I would say, let's respect creators. I think it's very often that creation can be kind of a weaponized and used in battles between platforms and other things. I look at everybody who is brave enough to create something, put it out, have their peers, the industry, players, play and analyze and talk about what they do. And let's just celebrate the fact that so many great games are coming out from so many creators, and realize that's such a foundation for where this industry is going to go, end quote. Spencer's comments followed a speech in which he called out toxicity in gaming, saying that the games industry has a, quote, responsibility to billions of players, end quote. Quote, "We have the responsibility to everyone in this business. We have a responsibility to society and to have a responsibility to ourselves," Spencer said. "Our responsibility is simple. Do everything possible to ensure this entire industry is about treating every single person with dignity and respect," end quote. Scott, I think that was a pretty big statement coming out of DICE all around. Obviously, with all the feedback we've been talking about with Activision Blizzard, right? Bobby Kotick getting called out right at DICE Awards by Greg Miller and such, right? And taking that stuff all to that next level. It's Phil Spencer then steps up and kind of just, in a more polite way, says the same thing, right?
He kind of, a little bit of like a, hey, now let's simmer down, guys. But at the same time, well, you do want to keep it respectful. So, what Greg Miller said, as much as everybody agrees with it,
Sure.
It was a little bit
harsh,
public. But even, us specifically, we have a responsibility to be a little more illuminating with our criticism and not just say, this sucks, that sucks. And other people don't have that same responsibility, but really you're not doing anybody a favor by being that kind of negative with no finish line. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I'm really mad about Cyberpunk and I just say this sucks, they suck, CDPR can't make it, well then I'm wrong eventually, and I've contributed nothing to the conversation.
Absolutely. It's trying for us, it's a critical eye, right? It's here's if the game is good, here's why. If the game is bad, then here's why. And we have valid points that kind of go with everything we're talking about. This is why we do it in a conversational manner as well. I think it helps kind of portray a more meaningful purpose of what we do in this industry and have a conversation around whatever game or subject we're talking about at the time. And it comes into the industry that, you know, if you anybody can put up a YouTube video and go, this game is crap. Okay, great, but why? You know, if the game does suck, then let's be honest, we all know there are some awful games out there. We've all played bad games, but you have to be able to judge it with a critical eye, at least for us, from our perspective, and how we portray ourselves within this industry, to have a meaningful purpose of when you say the game sucks, if you're able to back it up with good, valid reasons, then the developer will see that. Most times the developer already knows that the state of their game isn't well. Like, you can't tell me CD Projekt Red didn't know Cyberpunk was a broken mess. They knew that, but they just put it out anyways, right? But if we validate our points, then if they may have missed something, because their heads are spinning trying to get as much done as quickly as possible so they can produce a good game. But sometimes they miss stuff at the same time, right? So if we have a valid point, maybe there's something that you can either fix in their game or work towards fixing in the next one.
I like what he said about weaponizing it, because it's this kind of toxicity. Well, it becomes like an us versus them thing. We're seeing the console wars still going into, what is this, the 9th generation?
Right.
And it's insane to me, because you have people looking at Elden Ring, which is cross-platform, versus Horizon Forbidden West, which is not comparable, apples to oranges, and people are using this to kind of justify this argument. And I don't think that helps anybody either. That's just not constructive.
No, absolutely, I agree with you 100%, Scott. Why can't we just enjoy the games we play? Is it that hard? Right? It's not that difficult. Just don't be a jerk. It's quite
simple. As long as you're not playing on the Soldier Boy console, then everybody can get along.
Yep, and we'll be getting along over in Steam very soon, Scott. Steam Deck production will be in the hundreds of thousands by next month. This comes from Hope over at Games Radar. Valve expects the production of the Steam Deck to ramp up and says it plans to produce hundreds of thousands by second month. In an interview with IGN and Next Gen Console Watch via Forbes, Valve UX designer Lawrence Yang was asked what the supply situation for the Steam Deck now looked like, and revealed that, quote, really? Okay, well, I'm just reading the quote here, Scott, but I caught me off guard with, we imagine that the launch is going to ramp up in production terms. It'll ramp very quickly, end quote, before going on to explain exactly how this will happen by adding, quote, in the first month, we'll be in the tens of thousands. By the second month, we'll be in the hundreds of thousands, assuming that March will be the first month of the Valve handheld begins to ship out. It would be safe to assume that Valve plans to up production as of April. Scott, are you getting one of these, man? Because it's on my radar.
I'm very curious, but I'm not in the right standing to consider it at the moment.
That's fair.
I need to reserve judgment. Again, going back to the last topic, I cannot speak ill of it until I handle the thing. And it really does look interesting. The only thing I will complain about, if it is indeed true, is that lack of battery, because that was an issue in Game Boy Color.
Yeah. 2 hours. So we've seen reviews starting to kind of sprinkle out within the industry, and a 2-hour battery life, dude, was supposed to be a handheld unit, right? There's no dock system for this. It's a handheld unit. So 2 hours is not very long, man. If you're sucked into a game and you're there for hours, right? All of a sudden your battery dies in the middle of a fight or whatever you're doing on the handheld system. That's a disappointment. If you were 6 hours, I could get away with 6. Even 4 is a little light, but 2 hours, man, that's awful. That's really, really bad. Now, obviously, Steam Deck is sucking a lot of juice out of that thing for the battery to be draining that quickly, because I've seen some people reference it as a console in your hand. So now, dude, you can't help but compare it to the Switch, right?
Yeah,
If
that's the same verbiage even.
Exactly. When it's that powerful, when does Nintendo even care? Is first of all, will they catch up? Because they're so far behind in fidelity and graphically in their system. But Nintendo, we've talked about it before. Nintendo just does what Nintendo does, and they just go to the beat of their own drum. And it's up to them whether or not they want to catch up with everybody else. And sometimes they don't. And we heard rumors, Scott, I think it was you and I were talking off camera actually. We heard rumors that they're not looking at another Switch until 2024.
Yeah, something like that. They hadn't cemented any sort of plans as of yet, but they're already a gen and a half behind. It's hard to say, really.
Yep. No, I'd almost say 2 generations, right? Because when it did launch, they're already behind the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One X. And then we are now into PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. And now we're in with the new Steam Deck. Here's the other thing, Scott. If they're able to produce this, does this now look at a better light for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X for production as well?
They must be, yeah. If they're getting these semiconductors able to pump out that kind of manufacturing, then I wonder if that's the end of the... Or have they already kind of earmarked all of these semiconductors, and that is why we cannot find PlayStation
5? Steam, Valve's hoarding them all over there for the Steam Deck. You never know, eh? But yeah,
that'd be a really harsh way of entering the console wars.
Well, that's one way of doing it. But it does kind of make me hopeful then from the outside looking in for the PlayStation and Xbox to be able to get back into production to get everybody caught up with all of their consoles, because there's still so many people who can't get next gen consoles and want in. And it's just, man, maybe now we're starting to see Valve get into hundreds of thousands for production. Maybe Sony and Xbox and Microsoft can do the same thing.
I'm hoping that this new push for mobile between the Steam Deck and the Switch, it spurs on, I'll say it again, Vita 2 or an Xbox handheld. An Xbox handheld could be really cool. And think about how this one kind of looks like the Game Gear to me. So Xbox could just spruce it up a bit, and I think there's room for it.
I don't think Xbox has any intention of producing a handheld unit. They're heavily focused on the cloud and allowing you to tap in your phone or your iPad or some kind of tablet and then bounce over to your TV, right? I don't think they're looking to produce a handheld unit. Whether PlayStation is looking at a Vita 2, I even doubt that as much as well, because now they're talking about Spartacus and they have PlayStation Now, so they have the ability to stream. It's just not the most proficient, I think, is what I'm gonna go with, Scott, for where PlayStation would hope to be at this point when they're being compared now to everybody else and trying to catch up. So we'll see where PlayStation and Spartacus lies in the near future. Hopefully, maybe we'll know more this month, Scott, because there's a rumor of a state of play. But what isn't a rumor is that console market grew to a record $60 billion in 2021. So some data and analytics firm expects further $1 billion growth as rise of subscriptions offsets boxed sales decline. So the units, oh man, really? Subscription models are becoming a big thing, Scott, right? That's a huge thing. Absolutely. A study by Amper analysts has estimated that spending on console games, hardware, and services reached $60 billion last year, which the firm describes as a high record. In the company's report, head of games researcher Piers Harding wrote that this growth was, quote, held back, end quote, by the lack of availability for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, although their higher price when compared to previous gen models did help increase spending. Spending on the actual games content, emphasizing full titles, expansion packs, in-game items, and battle passes. We've seen definitely a huge insurgence of battle passes. Everything now these days, Scott, comes with a battle pass that allows you to keep your service going, right?
Oh yeah. I'm questioning, did GT7 have a battle pass? It's almost not that foreign of a question though at this point.
No, it's really not, right? But no, I'll tell you right now, it's not there. There isn't one. There's 400 cars to unlock in some, but
holy. So Battle Pass may have just drawn that out a little bit. Maybe it's a good decision without.
Yeah. Yep. Held steady when compared to 2020, declining by just 1%. This is all the more impressive given how much lockdown measures boosted spending 2 years ago while everyone was compelled to stay at home. Meanwhile, game services such as Xbox Game Pass are increasing their share of total console spending. Combined revenues from Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, and Nintendo Switch Online are estimated to account for 19% of the spending on games content. That's an interesting little figure, isn't it? It's all services, Scott. They're pulling in the services.
20% of that is subscription based, so that's not a small amount.
Not at all, considering where we used to be.
Xbox make the best decision ever with Game Pass? Because it certainly seems like it.
Oh, absolutely, they did, without a doubt, right? Box game sales are sustained somewhat by the Nintendo success of the Nintendo Switch, but Amper predicts that the market...
They're sustained by our one Brad, Northern Nerdcast. He's really trying to keep those physical sales going.
He sure is.
Only so much one man can do.
That's right. But Amper predicts the market share of packaged game sales compared to the digital will continue to drop in 2022, expected to slip to 26% in total spending. Sony remains the market leader when it comes to driving spend, accounting for 46% of all revenue generated on the console market. Meanwhile, Nintendo's shares dropped to 29%, 2% less than 2020, while Microsoft rose 1% to 25%. Harding Rolls noted that Sony's dominance, quote, highlights the strength of its digital business, end quote, when compared to Nintendo, which still lags behind both Sony and Microsoft when it continues digital full game sales and game monetization and services. Absolutely. Man, it's an interesting little read. I thought it was a very cool article to kind of go and dive into, take a look at, because we are definitely in, well, dude, we only deal with digital, right? We don't deal with physical anymore. We try not to be honest. I just don't want to at this stage of the game, right? There's so many games out there.
Every time I go and buy something physical, I get kicked right in the face by a Game Pass. It's happened now twice. I go get Hitman, I think, oh yeah, and then it's on digital.
Bam. Absolutely. Does it surprise you to see Sony retains 46% of the market?
That does seem large to me, but then again, they are, well, I would suspect number two. They're right neck and neck with Xbox, really. It always kind of goes, they pass each other for first a lot, but
yeah, they do.
46% would make sense. Now, Xbox has to be a large other percent of that, and it leaves Nintendo in the dust.
I think obviously Nintendo would be fair to say is at the bottom of the list, but right, like their online infrastructure just needs a complete rework. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't seem to catch up with where Sony and Xbox are at. They have an online service. Their online connections, man, just Nintendo. I love Nintendo, but they're just a funny company when it comes to where everybody else is at, right? It just seems like you guys see where they laid the future of video games, and then they have allowed PlayStation and Xbox to kind of surpass them in my eyes. There are only certain games you will ever get on Nintendo, and that's the Nintendo bread and butter right there. But when it comes to some of the online services, man, they're just really lacking, right? Like the party chat system, the friends system. There's just so many. Their online service altogether, when it comes to like how we have PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold, that kind of situation as well is still lacking, really further behind.
I feel like it's almost on par with the original Xbox Live. Like the very first one, I don't recall if there was messaging and stuff in there because I was a kid.
Like it's just
it was just missing some of these pieces. I look at 360 when I really joined the online community, and
a lot of people did then.
I think, well, Nintendo has to know this exists, right? That was 20 years ago almost. Come on.
Well, and that's the thing. Looking forward now, when we're getting so heavily invested into digital and that whole media side of how we consume our entertainment. Nintendo has to realize this and go, man, we are lacking behind, but they're just so set in their ways, right? It's kind of trying to get the old dog to catch up and learn a new trick or two. And I don't doubt Nintendo can do it, but it just seems that they're missing the ball still right now. And it kind of baffles me that they're so far out of the market when it comes to their online infrastructure, connecting with friends, just with even within the game, your friends list, your gamer tag is 1,000 numbers long. Like, it's just certain things like that that just leave you going, why are we still fighting this when it's so simple on PlayStation? It's so simple on Xbox.
No messages, no friends list, because, well, then you might receive a text message, and that's awful. Can't have that.
Well,
I don't understand the kind of thinking behind the company where they're going to be lost. They're already light years behind.
Yep. I don't know. It just kind of leaves me a little baffled. Holy crap, Scott. Man, that was... How many topics we do there? 1, 2, 3. That's it. We've done 3 topics for today's show. I'm going to go real quick on one more. Let's go. I want to go down to Elden Ring. Dude, let's talk about this one.
So. Yeah. I was looking at that one like...
You got to do it, man. YouTuber completes Elden Ring in one 4-day streaming marathon. What? Scott, why don't you take this one? This is a you thing.
I can't even sit through all of the Lord of the Rings movies in a marathon. I don't know how you can do this. But YouTube streamer Ludwig Argren has finally conquered Elden Ring after 4 days of nonstop streaming. I'm going to repeat that name there. Ludwig Argren. I hope I got that correct, because this man is a war hero. The streamer initially set a goal of staying live on YouTube until he completed the game. The latest Souls-like is absolutely massive, so completing it in just 4 days could be something of a monumental task. Ludwig's played the game final boss as of February 28th, after which he could witness the ending of his playthrough. Since beginning the game on February 24th, he died 701 times. You might have a chance yet, Drew.
No,
we can pull this back. You need a Rocky montage, and we'll put you right back in there.
No, I don't see a chance. Wow.
Oh, man. He attracted an average of around 17,000 viewers each day as he continued the journey. On the final day, he pulled over 19,000 viewers, hungry to see him become the Elden Lord. He completed the storyline, and then he went through to see just as much everything else he could kind of pull in and get the alternative game endings as well. Wow. There is multiple endings. I'm not sure how many here, but this is it's impressive even if you beat it once. In
Absolutely.
4 days at that, in one sit, there's layers of this feat.
Definitely. You know what? Congrats. Oh, absolutely. Congrats. My hat goes off in 4 days. Not a chance. 700. Dude, I'd probably double, if not triple, that death count. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. Because I'm probably already at 100 or 2. Maybe even more. It was... We've talked about it before. It's just some games are not for some people, and that one is not for me. But Scott, we do have a couple game releases for today. What else do we have?
We have 35mm. That's on Xbox One, Series X, PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. And we have A Musical Story on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, XS, and the Switch.
That one looks like a weird one to me. But everybody, don't forget, you can win your copy of Elden Ring. All you have to do is head to our Twitter over at the official ITG. Follow us there. Hashtag Elden Ring and tag a friend. We'll announce the winner at the end of the weekend. So you only have a few days left. So don't miss out. Dude, a lot of people definitely interested in the PlayStation codes.
Yeah, I wonder if you can beat it in 4 days, but just take it easy.
Good luck. Yeah, man, what a grind that was. I couldn't imagine trying to do that in 4 days. Like, that's a legendary move right there. Congrats. I'm still blown away. There's no way I can do it in 4 years, never mind 4 days. But that's going to wrap up today's show, everybody, where you can be joining us live over on twitch.tv/theofficialitg, as well as YouTube at ITG Reviews. Yeah, I got it, Scott. Nailed it. If you can't join us live, hit us up later. InsideTheGame.ca podcast services and TV streaming networks around the globe. I'm Drew, and Scott, he's back once again, and we'll be back tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you inside the game.